What's up, everybody? Good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Honestly, we got some movers, we got a decent amount of gappers that I'm watching, and all of them, at least thus far from what I've seen, all of them are tradable for me, so that's good to see. We're watching CMCM. This one's gapping up some after a big drop. You can look at the daily chart and see just a really big drop here, all the way down to the 540s. It's rebounding some today, but a big drop yesterday, all the way down from 820s to 540s. Just a really big drop there. We'll see what happens with this one. Also looking at ACAD here. This one is gapping up as well. Looking at the daily chart, it dropped some yesterday, and you can see it's up to right about here now. So we'll see if it runs into resistance here at this 1920 level, at this 1970 level as well. Going to look for that resistance, see if it comes back down some to maybe short this one, depending on how it looks. So going to watch that one as well. Looking at NIO, a few people mentioned something going on with NIO. Let me see if I can find it. You can see NIO gapping up some here. We'll see what happens with this one as well. Going to keep an eye on it for sure. Holding support around the 750 is important. I think I want to see it hold this level, see if it breaks 770. If not, and it cracks under this, I'll definitely start thinking about shorting it if it breaks under 750. And so we'll see what happens with that one as well. Got to watch AMD. This one has been, honestly, this one's surprising. It has been bouncing really nicely and fading really nicely. And so, every single day this one seems to bounce or fade. Like if I look at this yesterday, just a beautiful bounce here. Just a beautiful VWAP bounce here. You can see it right here. Just a really nice bounce, really nice follow through. The day before that, it faded perfectly 3 times here, here, and here. The day before that, it bounced off the VWAP again here and here. And so, it's been bouncing off the VWAP a lot, fading off the VWAP the previous day as well. So every day for the last 4 days, this one has had either a VWAP bounce or a VWAP fade. And if it pushes up at the open, it typically does the bounce. If it washes out at the open, it typically does the fade. And so we'll see what it does today. I'm definitely going to be watching AMD as well. Keeping an eye on NTNX. I'll have to look up the news for this one, but it's a big gap up. Gapping up from 40.97 to 43.90. Kind of a weird gap up. It ended up dropping down to about 38 and then moving back up and compensating for that. So I'll have to look up the news on NTNX to see why it's doing that. Gonna look at CGC, the rest of these cannabis stocks like CRON, see what they do today as well. HEAR, which is Turtle Beach, is gapping up some from 1644 to 1755. I'll probably be watching this one as well. We also have ANY after a big day yesterday, ran some, gave some back. Gonna look for this one to ultimately fail, honestly. I think it's time for this one to come back down. And so we'll see what happens with it. I think it'll eventually come back down as well. So that's basically it. Got a few other ones, but not a bad day, honestly. We got a decent amount of movers here today. TNXP, reverse split. Yeah, for that reason, I probably won't watch it. Oh, it's a new float. Maybe I'll watch it then. I doubt it's tradable for me, though. That's the biggest thing. We got NVDA popping up on the scanners, NVIDIA. And so AMD, another microchip company. We'll see what happens with those two. I'll have to look up the news releases on those. Netflix up. SEO up. WB. Weibo up. But yeah, we got some options today to look at. We'll see what we get. PYX maybe getting a little bit of a volume spike here as well. Yeah, I mean, I understand that trade because, here's the thing, right? You see these stocks gap up like this, and a lot of times they come back down. I don't like to actually short them. Like I said, I think I said it before. I don't actually like to short them with securities or stocks. I like to buy put options on them because at least with put options, my risk is limited to whatever I pay for the option. If I go short and this thing gaps up 30-40% in pre-market one day, it could really hurt. And so I'd prefer to just buy put options on it and just let it work that way, see if it comes back down. There you go. Yeah, I was really watching CMCM, which was the two gappers I'm watching. CMCM, JILL, I don't think I can trade, but the other ones are just penny stocks that aren't really moving. NXTD, for example, MYSZ, not really moving some. RIOT, not really moving. BURL's moving some, but it's too expensive. SLS. None of these are really... SLS doesn't look that bad, but it needs a little bit more volume still, and I can't trade it small range. And so, yeah, probably watching CMCM. These four. Yeah, no worries, Salty. Yeah, whatever happened to ASNS? I remember that one yesterday. ASNS isn't bad. I doubt it's tradable, though. I don't think I can trade it. No. Usually they add stocks like this, like A and Y wasn't tradable originally, and usually they add it, but today they didn't. Just look at all the VWAP bounces. We were talking about this one in class yesterday. Just look at how many bounces this one had. This thing bounced off the VWAP over and over and over again. Here, here, here. Just kind of confirming that support level over and over and over again. But ACAD doesn't look bad. Nice volume there. Somebody said ACB to watch ACB. It's moving some. It had that fade yesterday that I was talking about, but I never took advantage of it. It ended up fading back down. This one ultimately has a small range, though. Yes, Carisha. Most of the time. No, you can't post to Joseph. Yeah, it's nothing against you, man. It's just that I just want to limit links to people. You know what I mean? So it's nothing against you, man. NTNX. Yeah, I got NTNX on my watch list. It's on my other screen. It's not my favorite one just because the range is huge. I don't know how to approach this thing. See if ACB is still tradable. I know it was before. They've kind of kept the cannabis stocks on here for us to trade. Yeah, it's tradable. CPRX. So we'll look up the news in a second. I appreciate the sub. Alright, so we'll see what we get today. Didn't trade yesterday. Monday I had a green day. And so we'll see if I can get another green day under my belt. Mitch has had 2 green days thus far this week. No losing days. And so we'll see what happens. I I just didn't see anything I really liked yesterday. I think I need to start trading the VWAP bounce. I think like if I look at AMD here and I look at days that there's not a lot of fades, there's usually some VWAP bounces like this. Like this would have been a beautiful one. I'm kind of bummed out I didn't take advantage of it, but this one here would have been a beautiful bounce, reward target, short risk, would have been nice. And so I think days where I don't see that many fades, I should start trading bounces, specifically with stocks that have shown the ability to bounce and be reliable with those. GPIC. No volume. Yeah, no volume with JILL either. I want to see volume like this, like ACAD or like at least like HEAR, like some volume. But when it just has no volume, it makes me not trust it as much. CMCM is okay. Not great. Thanks for the sub, Greenhorn. Appreciate it, man. But not that bad of volume overall today. I mean, we're getting some gappers here. We got ACAD, CMCM, ACB, NIO, AMD, NTNX, HEAR, ANY, ASNS, some of the cannabis plays. So it's not a bad morning. Really, Carisha? I'll have to get that checked out. Let me look. Maybe the strategy library is still restricted. I might have to unrestrict it. That might be what it is. I'll have to open up. I'll have to open up WordPress and edit it real quick. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, I made the site myself, and so I'm still learning, but I don't think it's a bad site. Here it is. Yeah, sorry about that. I wonder how long it's been like that, honestly. Alright, you should be able to do it now. You should be able to go to the strategy library now. Sorry about that. I think I fixed it. Yeah, I had it restricted. If they're tradable for me. Right, hey, I appreciate it. I think I just fixed it, though, Carisha. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm still new with websites, but I've been building websites since I was a kid. I just haven't built that many of them, but I have experience building them. It's just changed a little bit from the last time I built one, which was probably, like I said, 10 years ago. And so it's just changed a little bit. I also, last time I used Wix, which in this one I used WordPress. Wix is easier to use, but worse for SEO. And WordPress is better for SEO, but a little bit harder to use. But, you download, if you download builders, like I use Elementor, really easy. to build a site with Elementor, it's fine. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Steve, I trade small cap bios. It just depends on what you consider small. I mean, I trade, like a lot of times I watch like NIO, ANY, CRON, you know, if it's tradable, ABIL, kind of those parabolic movers. Like I'll trade those, but it all just depends. Under five, if they're tradable for me on TradeNet, on TEFs, which is TradeNet's broker, a lot of times those aren't tradable, and so if they're tradable, I'll trade them, but a lot of times they're not. And so my kind of price range for stocks is typically like my price range for stocks is typically like $5 to $20 is usually what I trade. Anywhere from 5 to 20 is typically the price range I trade. That's really what I like trading, is stocks in between there. But if a stock is less than $5 and it's tradable for me, I'll definitely consider trading it if it looks good. And if it's over $20, I'll still consider it. I'll trade any stock, but I prefer to trade in that price range. Appreciate the sub, Third Eye. Fias. What's up, Fias? It's been like 6 months, man. How you doing, brother? No, I've never made one, Rex. I've heard they pay you, but I've never made one. I use too small of sizing. That's why I'm trying to scale up in sizing, but I've never made one personally, no. Yeah, what's up, Fias? Long time no see, brother. See what else we got. FPay popping up on my scanners, FPAY, but it's a little too cheap. It's under $1. I probably won't trade it. MFGP moving some. JD, I think it's a ETF. No, it's not. JD's moving. What's up, Abby? No, man, he's at work, Mikey. Appreciate the sub, Melody. But yeah, he's at work, Mikey. He'll be back Friday. He typically works Thursdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. How much does TradeNet take when you make a withdrawal? Hey, it happens, Fias, man. I've never used them, Bear. I've heard good things though about CME, but I've never used them. So I can't really tell. But I have heard good things. I've heard people saying they were good. Some people said they had problems with fills, is what I heard, the criticism I had for them. But overall, I've heard positive things about CME Group. And so, I've heard good things. Back to the question, how much does TradeNet take when you make a withdrawal? I know their profit split is 70-30, so they keep 30%, but as for like a withdrawal fee, I'm not sure. I don't think they take anything, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. You want to reach out to them and ask them. So yeah, gonna look to short some of these gappers. We'll see what happens. JD moving again. I've traded this one before. It's been running okay here. A few little fades here. They do take routing fees. Cool. Appreciate it, man. I really didn't know. How much are the routing fees? Wiring fees. Yeah, I mean, wiring fees, my bank's going to hit me with a wiring fee regardless. Carisha, so like what I usually do is like I look at different sectors to see how they're acting, and sometimes I look at the spy. You know, I think the spy can be relevant as well. But but you know, uh, most of the time I just look at the different sectors. Like you can see the microchip tech sectors moving up. You can see AMD, NVDA, and some other ones are all moving up. So the microchip sector is pushing up, and so I'll watch those to see if it gives some of that pushback. Um, you know, but most of the time I'm just looking at sectors and stocks. How do you handle multiple losses in a row? I've taken so many losses that I'm scared to take trades now. So here's the thing. So with the strategies I use, Melanie, I back test the strategy. So like I go back in time and I analyze and kind of tally up how many times it's worked over how many times it hasn't worked, and I find out the accuracy rate over a decent sample size. Typically, I try to shoot for a year sample size, but I don't always have the time to do that. Um, and so, like, I can pull up my backtesting results for like some strategies, and so that may be the first thing you want to look at is what strategy you're actually using. Like for instance, let me pull up. I have November's backtest results uh, for the VWAP bounce right here, and so like if I pull this up, you can see I just tally up how many times it works versus how many times it doesn't work. I'm actually not done with it, but in the end, it gives me, you know, successful bounces, failed bounces. So 8 out of 16, or 8 successful ones and 6 failed ones. So that gives me a 75% accuracy rate for the VWAP bounces in November. It shows me the favorable conditions, the favorable stocks, the favorable sectors for the bounce, and that way I can know what to really attack with that strategy. And that's really what I do, and it'll give you a good indication of how reliable your strategy ultimately is, and it'll also give you confidence in that strategy. You also want to you know, give yourself good risk and reward levels. You know, like if you're risking 10 cents, you want to set your reward target for 20 cents, and that way, you know, even if you lose, you want to use the chart and the levels in the chart to determine those entries and exits though. But that way, even if you lose two in a row, that next winner can compensate for it if you're giving yourself twice the reward that you're risking in each trade. No, Trade Ideas doesn't make it so I can backtest. I have to use just good old fashioned tallies. But you know, you can use Excel if you know how to use that really well. I can use Excel. I'm just not that good at it, so I just like to do it simple and tally it up. It works. Christopher P. I Before the bell, I leave up the gap scanners so people can see the gappers, and then right before the bell rings, I put up the momentum scanner, like the high of the day or breakouts and, you know, biggest percentage moves and stuff. ANY short at 736, risk 748. What you traders think of this first time on this live stream? Let's look at it. It all depends, like where you're buying it. Are you already in that? If so, where'd you get in? What's your reward target as well, Mr. Bo? You know, I see your risk. Your risk is what? Your risk is 12 cents. Um, what's your reward target? Yeah, I noticed that this morning, Abby. I was more bummed out they took out NBEV. I liked how NBEV moved. I mean, I don't dislike that, Mr. Bo. The only thing is, I think that I think not that your reward target is too long. When did you get into it? Have you gotten into it yet, or is this just a plan you have at this point? I mean, you got a big reward target, small risk, but it's just about how you aim to trade it, right? That's like a 15-to-1 ratio or something like that. I don't even have time to calculate that. But I mean, here's the thing. It's okay to have, a big reward ratio. You just have to understand that you can either take profits before you actually get to it. That needs to be like your final reward ratio, like your last profit in that trade, or you have to understand that the accuracy just might not be as high since your reward is huge. That's why I try to stick like 2-to-1, 3-to-1, just because it's reasonable enough that it will probably happen if the stock washes or fails, but it's big enough to where it definitely compensates 3 times of my risk or 2 times of my risk, and so that's kind of my mentality with it. But it's all subjective, man. Everybody's gonna set different reward and risk targets, so do what works for you, man. I'm not gonna hate on anything. I think for my winners, I have a trader view, but for my winning trades, my average hold time was 41 minutes. For my losing trade, my average hold time was like 16 minutes. And so I'm actually proud of that stat. It just shows that I'm not holding my losses long. I'm cutting them short. What's up, Felix? Good morning, man. Man, I like my new chair, but man, this thing's noisy too. RCKT popping up on my scanners here. Rocket Pharmaceuticals. It's up here. I mean, it's not tradable. It's starting to move some, getting some volume. RCKT, if you could trade it, you might want to check that one out. But yeah, like I said, watching CMCM. What was the other one? Watching HEAR. I remember HEAR. Oh, it was ACAD. Also here. These just have such big ranges. I gotta be careful with them. But A and Y is moving. NIO, ACB, AMD. Hey, you're probably right, Mike. I mean, I don't actually smoke. I use these electric cigarettes, but I don't actually smoke. I quit smoking real cigarettes when my son was born 4 years ago. And so I just use these electric ones, but I need to quit these as well. You're right, man. I'm not going to argue with you about it because you're right. Right. I mean, I don't use real cigarettes. I quit 4 years ago. I just use these electric ones. And I'm really trying to quit these too. Yeah, I quit regular cigarettes not because... Here's the thing. Not because I actually wanted to. I mean, of course I wanted to quit regular cigarettes, like real cigarettes. But when my son was born, I didn't want him to smell like cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't want him to smell like it. And so regardless of the health benefits of me quitting for myself, it's more about, they've done research now. There's like third hand smoke that you can get from just touching somebody with the after effects of cigarettes on your hands or whatever, and so it just made sense. Internet's down 2-way. You're at Starbucks, brother. Let's see what Starbucks is doing. Yeah, 100%, Mike. I completely agree. Yeah, Abby mentioned GSM earlier. They took it off at Tafts. I can't trade it anymore. DUST pushing up. It's a ETF. All right, guys, we got about 6 minutes until the open. We'll see what we can get into today. It's Wednesday. Honestly, I thought I always did bad on Wednesday, but looking at my stats, I really don't. I mean, Wednesdays is still a profitable day for me. Thursdays were actually my worst day, but PLAN, gapping up some. We also have Turtle Beach moving some here. The range is just so big with these stocks. It's tough to figure out how many, how I want to trade it. Yes, appreciate it, Netron. I completely forgot about news. Let's look that up. All right, so we got ACAD here. Getting a big volume spike, a big push here for ACAD. Price is a public offering of common stock. Biotechs, some biotech stocks dropped yesterday and they're rebounding today. Yeah, ACAD pricing a public offering of common stock is what ultimately made it drop. Weird. And then Luxo Oncology, which is a bio drug, had good FDA news. And I guess ACAD is moving up because of that. It's hard to tell. Maybe it's just rebounding some from that big drop, but it's just odd. Unless I'm a little bit late. Let's see if I can figure out what's really going on with this one. It priced a public offering of 16.2 million common shares at a $17 a piece price, and so that's what happened with it. I'm curious as why that's making it gap up. Usually offerings aren't a good thing, but we'll see. Gonna look at ANY. I think it's just up on momentum. Also, AMD, these microchip sector stocks. All right, so microchip stocks are up after Mizuho analyst Vijay Rakesh wrote of a rebound in GPU prices. He says, quote, "We believe with GPU pricing starting to turn up to 10% to 15% from the September lows, and for the first time in 8 months, it should be positive for NVIDIA and AMD, pointing to a faster normalizing of channel inventories and demand elasticity." He said, "We believe the update, quote, upside pricing inflection should be a preliminary positive read on channel inventories and demand," end quote. And so he put out that good quote about microchips. So gonna watch AMD and VDA, see what happens with those today. Also looking at HEAR, Turtle Beach, it is up. We'll see what's going on with this one. I think Turtle Beach is just up because of Red Dead Redemption 2 success and Call of Duty success. That's what it showed me here. We'll see what happens with it for HEAR. I think people are just buying it after Red Dead Redemption did well. Red Dead Redemption Online came out yesterday, I know, and so I think maybe that's making it push up some. I gotta look at ACB, some of these cannabis stocks here. Gotta be quick though, the market's opening up soon. So there's an announcement for ACB that the company has completed the sale at the open of market of the Australis Capital Inc. units on behalf of non-resident shareholders. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm not seeing too much else that I really like. We'll see what happens with some of these. Market opens up in about a minute, guys, so let's get ready. All right, so let's make some money today, guys. Let's hopefully we can do well, and we'll see what happens. All right, here's the bell. Good luck, guys. There we go. All right, keeping an eye on AMD. It's pushing up some. Or not AMD, I'm sorry, ANY. It was pushing up some originally and just kind of gave some back. Gonna watch this one. Watching NIO, we could see CGC and some of these cannabis stocks really pushing now. At least CGC, for instance, just ran up a pretty big amount. Look at CGC here. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put the intraday scanners up. Let me put those up now. ALQA popping up on the scanners here. Cron pushing up, ACB pushing up as well. NIO pushing up. A lot of stuff rebounding today. AMD falling down some here. Alright, we'll see what we get with AMD here. Pull this up. NIO pushing up some. Alright, AMD big drop. Gonna look for a fade on it if it pulls back here. If it gets to 2170, I can set a risk of 2185s maybe. I think is reasonable. About a 15-cent risk. Big reward at least 2150, I think 2150 for a reward target. So about 2 to 1, 15-cent risk, 30-cent reward. If you can get up to that 2170 level, I'll probably take it. We'll see though, it's just kind of fading back down here. All right, so we're still getting drops here for for AMD here. I would have to lower my risk down to 2180 here if it pulls back, but it continues to move here. Set a reward target. Man, it's just not looking back, not giving me that pullback for the fade. Man, AMD's getting hit. See, risk 65 to 80 would be 15 cents. 65 to 40 would be not too bad here. All right, watching AMD, see if we get that pullback to 2160s. Trying to bounce here. We'll see if it gets up there. VWAP is dropping some. Don't like that as much. It's giving me worse risk. I would have to set my risk at 74 now. 75 maybe. Still tight risk, but not as ideal as it was. Just because the VWAP's down so much, the volume jumped in. We'll see what happens. All right, I'm in with 200 shares on AMD here. See if we can get that fade back down. Quick move. Cover some there. I don't mind adding if it gets back up, just to make my profit already in this trade. Just gonna let the rest work here. See if we can get that fade back down. All right, I'm out for a $20 gain. Just a quick little scalp there for this move. Probably should have held it a little bit longer, but I'll take it. Tried to jump in with bigger sizing. If I had to critique this trade, I think I just sold my first half a little bit too soon here. I should have held a little bit, letting it test this level. That's the only thing I did wrong, I think, but it followed through with the fade really nicely. Man, look at this. See, this is what I mean, man. I backtest these setups, and AMD has been one of those ones that fades and bounces every single day. I got to be able to take advantage of this more. I tried using a little bit larger sizing with 200 shares this time, but I sold too soon. So it's a process, but at least I jumped in with 200 shares this time. Aside from selling that first partial too soon, what I should have done with this one, really, looking back on it, is I should have sold my first partial here at 40 and then let the rest work. But quick scalp trade, I'll take it. What's up, Cody? Good morning, man. Right, 100%, Todd. You know, like here's the thing. Like, I showed you these back testing results, right? And these are from the bounces, right? This is from the VWAP bounce. And you can see like my results from it were like favorable tickers. AMD was number one because when I back tested it, it was super successful with the fade and the bounce. And so when I back tested it, it shows how reliable it is for those fades and bounces. And so that's what I've been watching every day. I gotta learn to hold it a little bit longer here. Like here's the thing, right? When you're scaling up and sizing like I'm trying to do, you're not used to those big swings, right? You're used to taking profits at certain levels. And so I think I just sold too soon here, man. If anything, what I should have done is held 50 shares and let that last 50 work. And that would have been the solid way to approach it. Get maximum gain on that last 50 shares, But green is green. Really wish I would have approached it differently. And I can critique myself and I can be honest with myself about what I did wrong, But it's one of those things, like it's a process. Like I used 200 shares trying to scale up, trying to get up to like 300 or 400 shares ideally. But it's a process, man. Green's green. Yeah, but I mean, look, this is the move I didn't want to miss. Right, but though that's exactly the point though, charts. Like my risk is 20. Ideally, I think it was 15 in that trade maybe. But with my risk being that I want to get a $40 gain. I want to get 2 times my risk is ideally. And it's because I miss moves like this. It's like I said, this is one I was calling out in pre-market. I said I was going to watch it for the fade, and I traded the fade and I made money, and that's great, but it's one of those things where, like I said, I know myself well enough. I know the holes in my game as a trader. Like I can recognize them. When I review my trades, I can easily recognize the holes. One of them is I don't hold it long enough, at least that first cover. And if I'm risking 20 cents, I want to make 40 cents, which in this case I only made 20 cents, maybe 25 cents. And so that's the problem, I took it a little bit too early. And that's okay. I mean, green's green, but I missed out on this move, which is what I really wanted. It faded perfectly, though. Beautiful fade. Just honestly, it's giving me confidence in AMD because I think I mentioned it in a class the other night. Like, if you were to trade every bounce and every fade on AMD, you would be super profitable. If the only stock you ever traded in the last month at least, if the only stock you ever traded was AMD and kind of the conditions were like if it pushes up a lot at the open, if it has a big breakout at the open and you trade every bounce, you would make money. If it pushed down like it did today and you traded every single time it faded off the VWAP, you would make money. And like that's kind of the conclusion I drew from it when back testing it. And so naturally it's one of those stocks that after back testing it, I'm just going to start watching every day until it stops working. And, again, another good example of it today, just a beautiful fade. Picture perfect, just exactly touched the VWAP here. Beautiful touch, just right off of the VWAP, down to the very cent. Touched the VWAP, faded back down. Just a beautiful example of the fade. And it followed through really, really nicely here. Jonathan, where can I ask dumb questions? Yeah, what's up, man? You got a question, brother? It just depends. If your question is like, you're a terrible trader, what are you doing? You can't ask that here, But if your question is like a noob question, like you're a brand new trader and you think it's dumb, go ahead, man. I'll do my best to answer it. So we could use this trade as an example, right? What does it mean to risk 20 in hopes of gaining 40? So when you risk 20, some people call it your stop loss. I don't set stop losses. I just use mental exits. But so for instance, if I get in here at 2160 and I set a risk level of really, it wasn't 20 cents, it was 15 cents of 2175, which would be these lows right here in pre-market. You could see these lows here. Let me draw it out a little bit easier to follow. You can see the support here in pre-market right here. So that area is a logical area for my risk. If I get in going short at 2160, my risk is 15 cents. I want to set my reward target at twice that much. And so my reward target, basing it off of the chart, would be right around this 2130 level. 2133 to be exact. Right down here. Okay, so my risk is 15 cents and my reward is 27 cents. And so it's almost 2 to 1. So my risk is this. And I'm basing it off of the chart, not just what I want it to be. My risk is that, and my reward is that. Okay, so your reward in that trade is twice as big as what you're risking. And so even if you trade this every time and you're only 50% accurate, if you hold it to that reward target, you'll still be pretty profitable in the long run. Just because you're making twice as much than your losses. Because your risk is tight, your reward is big, and that's going to compensate for losses, even if you're only 50% accurate. You know, and that's kind of my mentality in trading, and it works. You know, you just got to, you know, like I said, as soon as I got out the trade, I knew what I did wrong, which is I didn't hold it long enough. I exited my first partial too soon and missed out on this move here, you know. And it was a green trade. That's great, but I know myself well enough to know, even though it was a green trade, it was a successful trade, I did a few things wrong there. And that's kind of something I need to work on, maybe review after the stream today. Right, 100% Dext. We know how it moves, man. Like if you look at not yesterday but the day before for AMD, look at all these fades, man. Just fade here, fade here, fade here, and it just did it 3 times. Big follow through, tight risk with each of these, and so that's why AMD, man, it's one of those ones. But it just keeps dropping, man. Yeah, I posted it, Jason. Let me post it again here, man. But even though I did some things wrong, you know, that's my... I haven't had a losing day this week. 2 green days, no losing days, so didn't trade yesterday. So not a bad week thus far, but I got to get that together, man. I got to get that rolling. No stress, man. Nice little bounce on NIO as well. And again, if you look at my back testing results for the VWAP bounce, another favorable ticker, NIO. And what did it do today at the open? It bounced off the VWAP. ACB. Maybe trying to bounce off the VWAP here. I like it because it's a tight risk. But, like, just looking at ACB here, you can see the somewhat of a possible VWAP bounce here. Just analyzing it, you can set a risk level 55. Reward target of that previous high of the day up here at 570 if you got in at 560. 5 cent risk, 10 cent reward. Doesn't look bad, 2 to 1. We'll see what happens with it, though. Not enough volume for me to really be super interested in it. Thanks for the sub, WT, and Winks, and Nair. Appreciate it, guys. ALQA. Yeah, ALQA. It's the one that's been kind of shining on my scanner some. I doubt it's tradable for me, but yeah, it all depends on how it acts up to the VWAP Dext. I'm watching it for sure, but if it stair steps up there, I don't like it as much. Yeah, man. There goes CHS. Fading back down nicely. What's up, Mikey? ALQA halted. Yep. Hey, man, this looks like one of those parabolic movers. I doubt options are available for it, but let's take a look and see. Nope. Well, I called out ACB for that VWAP bounce. Maybe I should have taken it. I was correct. I said, 570 reward target, 550 risk, and there it goes. Just hitting that reward target, bouncing beautifully off the VWAP here. There it is. Called it out, didn't take it. Volume's still a little low for it overall, though. That's the only thing, but didn't look that bad. My option for Tahoe. Mine says $5. Yeah, mine just says $5, man. Veil. Yeah, Veil filling the gap. It's actually pulling back to this VWAP area too if it can get up here. Trying to calculate risk for this one. It's such a small range stock. Like the range is tiny for relative to the price. So risk would have to be maybe here 17, giving myself about a 16-cent risk. Maybe 18 if I want to be reasonable and objective with it. Reward target would be down to 13. And so ultimately what we get from that is about a 7-cent risk with a 11-cent reward target, maybe 12-cent reward target. So almost 2 to 1, not bad, you know. Two-way. I'll be back, guys. I gotta run to the restroom. I'll be back in like a minute or two. All right, I'm back. Um, yeah, here's the thing. I don't like AMD. I don't like AMD as much right now. The reason I don't like it is because it's consolidating and it's putting in support levels. You can see just support at 21, right around 21. And like I said, it's kind of stair-stepping up there. With the fade, like I like how, here's the thing. With fades, and I'm not saying it's not going to work. It's been super accurate with fades. But with a fade, I like a quick pullback to the VWAP like it did here at first. If it stair steps back up there, it kind of shows a bullish trend as opposed to a bearish trend if it stair steps back up there. And so for that reason, I got to be a little bit more careful. Yeah, ALQA is not tradable, Dex. CM. Yeah, look at that bounce. Two bounces really. DKS popping up on my scanners here. Right, exactly, Mr. Charts. That's kind of exactly, Todd. That's kind of my mindset with it. With higher highs and higher lows, it makes me a little bit more skeptical of a fade. Even for a great stock like AMD that always fades, always bounces, it just makes me a little bit more skeptical of it because that's showing more of a bullish move back to the VWAP as opposed to just a quick pullback where you can kind of add some sizing back and so forth. So we'll see what happens, but hey, nice work, Dex. Hey, congrats, brother. Yeah, man, ACV, dude, it bounced really nicely, man. That's one of those ones I called out, man. So I'm glad you took advantage of it. Like I said, it was a tight risk, 5 cents. Decent reward with 10 cents. Small range stock, but it doesn't mean you can't trade it. And just followed through really nicely. Another example of some people have hated on the VWAP strategies, but I mean you can't really ignore what they do here. Like this one went right down to the cent as well. Right down to the cent of the VWAP and then just bounced perfectly off of it and kept going. So good work, Dex. Nice job, man. Nice, Missouri. Hey, good job, brother. Let's see what ALQA is doing now. It resumed already? It did. Yes, sir. Yeah, professional. I'm live every weekday, man. Every weekday morning. I'm live, brother. Except for like special circumstances. I'm live every day. Every weekday, I should say. ASNS just halted. Yeah, a few people mentioning that one. Yeah, look at that squeeze. Big squeeze up there. Appreciate the sub, TSA. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name, brother, but I appreciate it, man. That's rough, Allie. Yeah, we'll see what ASNS does here. Just a beautiful follow through with ACB on that bounce, though. Just a really pretty follow through. Kron did the same thing. Yeah, we're getting some volume back in the market, guys. I mean, I'm happy to see that. Even though I can't trade it and it's a long trade, we're getting some volume back in the market, which is it's about time, man. Mitch and I've been waiting for the volume to kind of come back in the market, so it's good to see some big runners every day. Jonathan, you're gonna take off work, brother? Don't remind me, Frank. That's one of the things I said, man. That's as soon as I got out the trade, Frank, I completely acknowledged what I did wrong there, which is I sold too soon. Um, I think what it is, Frank, is that I'm trying to scale up in sizing. Usually I just use 100 shares. With AMD, I use 200 because, like I said, I've been showing consistent profits, and I got to scale up in sizing some. And so I think I'm just not used to it, and it's just a process. It's something I'm gonna have to get used to, you know. So I'm planning on just using 200 shares from here on out. Next week, going up to 300 shares, getting comfortable with that. And then once all is said and done, and I've actually scaled up and I'm used to it a little bit more, I think I'll be able to hold it longer to my reward target. I was disappointed in myself as well, man, for just selling it too soon. Right, 100%, Frank. It's a process, brother, step by step. I'm just, I'm pretty patient with that. Like I'm pretty patient with, scaling up and just taking it slow. Like I don't mind taking it slow. I think traders try to jump in too quick. I think I've said it before. Like a lot of traders, especially with all the people like putting videos out on YouTube, is that like they get the wrong impression about trading. Like it's a marathon. It's not a race, you know. If you try to treat it like a race and you jump in too quickly and you try to move forward too quickly, you're probably going to fail. And so the only thing that makes sense to me at least is to take it slow. I'm slowly scaling up in sizing and, we'll see how that goes. Because chart says, why is it easier to take a fast loss than hold for a good win? It's easier because whenever you're in a green trade, you want to lock in those profits. You want to take those profits. You're worried it's going to rebound on you and go against you. And so you lock in profits fast. When you're in a losing trade, a lot of times a new trader's mentality is you're waiting for, instead of anticipating it going against you, you're anticipating for it to go in your direction, and so it makes you hold losses longer. And I don't generally hold my losses longer, actually. Like I looked at my stats. My average hold time for a winning trade was 41 minutes. My average hold time for a losing trade was like 16 minutes, and so I hold my losses much smaller or much shorter. um, but like I said, with scaling up like it is, it's some emotions that I need to learn to grasp a little bit better. And I understand that about myself. So like while I'm scaling up, I'll probably make a few mistakes just getting used to it, but once I get used to it, I should be good. I should be golden. Oh no, I get it, Mr. Charles. No stress, man. Looking for ACAD to break 1850. Got back at 1875. Stopped 10 cents. Let's look at it. A and Y. Yeah, I like that for a short as well. Uh, Star Trader. I mean, it's not my strategy. I'm not going to trade it, but I can see kind of the pattern breakdown, and so I don't mind that one as well. But it's not my niche, if you will. Kind of looking at ZAYO here. ZAYO, big gap up, pull back to the VWAP. Let's see where risk would be. Risk would have to be at like 50, and so just not a solid risk reward trade at this point. But yeah, Mr. Charts, back to back testing, man. Yeah, for sure. I think ACAD is going down as well. It's got this big support level at 1850. We'll see how it responds there. But again, look at NIO. Remember what I said, guys. Like, if you look at my back testing results from November, favorable tickers, AMD, CRON, NIO, CGC, favorable sectors, cannabis and microchip. And look at NIO. Look at this beautiful bounce here. And this is one of the things I back tested on, just pretty bounce. Really nice follow through, tight risk. But yeah, Mr. Charts, to go back to it. So like you can see, this is my back testing page from November. I basically just do it kind of an old school way. Like I just go back in time and I tally up the successes and a failure. For each strategy, I give myself a success point to where it hits that success point. You know, it's a success, and if it hits the failure point or my risk level or breaks over it, it's a failure. And so I just go back in time and I tally the successes and failures of each trading day. And then in the end, it gives me a percentage of successful bounces as opposed to failed bounces, and then it gives me an accuracy rate with that. And so up to the, what day did I get up to? The 15th of November, 18 bounces, 6 failed bounces, 75% accuracy rate. It also gives me the favorable conditions, tickers, and sectors. And so that's kind of what I use to guide the trade. What I use for stocks to look at the stocks is I've posted a watch list every day for the last year on my Twitter. And so I just go back in time and look at the watch list for the day I'm interested in. QD breaking out on volume here. Look at QD run today. Wow. Glad I sold this put option. I had a put option on this one up at the 550s from this big move here. I had a put option up here and was able to sell it around 490s. Make 3 times what I invested in the option on QD. So I'm glad I sold it when I did. ACAD working out for you, outsiders? Yeah, AMD just never got back up to the VWAP. It faded nicely, and I'm sure the VWAP will drop some and it'll look a little bit prettier, but it's one thing I'm noticing is that a lot of times the second move doesn't quite get up to the VWAP, and I think that's okay still because, you know, you could take smaller sizing and ride this big move down. All right, two-way. Have a good day, brother. Honestly, I'm liking this market, though. It's not that bad. At least follow through with some of these trades I've been getting into. Yeah, a lot of people talking about ALQA. I mean, Jonathan, I watch anything that's moving, man. Anything that's gapping up with significant volume, I don't care about the sector that much. But like what I target is like, you know, for VWAP bounces specifically are the cannabis and microchip sector, at least this month. Just kind of from my back testing results. But I target anything that's moving. Yeah, ALQA is just going crazy here. Yeah, me too, Carissa. Lithium. Give me some examples of lithium stocks, Jonathan. I've kind of missed lithium lately. I haven't really been seeing many, but I don't know if I've been watching them necessarily as well. Yeah, for sure. For sure, Todd. LIT. Just too slow, man. Just no volume. Todd. Yeah, look at GSM go here. These are just too slow for me. There's just no volume with these, at least for my style of trading. So it's just not, it's not stocks I would typically watch. Sounds like OTC stocks as well, right? I can't trade OTC stocks, so a lot of times I don't watch them. Nice, Yao. Nice work, brother. Yeah, Dex. I mean, I used to do that, man. I used to trade on both. Yeah, Jason, that second one, man. It's not quite a fade. It's all subjective, what you would consider a fade. It just never quite got there. I like the fades like this, where it actually touches the VWAP, but it maintained. So, like, I think I've said it before, like, the VWAP is actually a trend indicator. And so when it kind of gets rejected at the VWAP, it's maintaining that downward trend, as opposed to, like, if it's above the VWAP and it bounces on it, then it's maintaining an upward trend. And so this is just kind of that consolidation and that confirmation in that downward trend is what you're seeing here with AMD, and it's just following through. It's all subjective, Jason. I wouldn't consider it a fade necessarily. I mean, I kind of would actually, but I know it's like this. Like, I know Mitch is a lot more strict with what he considers a fade, and like I know I like jumping in a little bit earlier. Like what I usually do with these is like I jump in with a smaller share size and then plan to add if it gets up to the VWAP. That way, if it does what it did here, I don't miss it. Um, but it's all subjective, you know. A VWAP fade really could be considered. I tend to like to refer to it as like if it gets within a few cents from the VWAP, and I guess this did, so it could be considered a fade. It just, in order for my risk to be decent, I want it to touch the VWAP. I want it to get up there, you know. And so for me, maybe not, but you're gonna see the VWAP drop some here with the volume coming in. The VWAP will drop some. And so it's all just subjective, man. You know, I could definitely see the fade, but it just depends on what you would consider it. Right, Jason. Yeah, for sure. Continuation of the trend, exactly. It's just confirming this downward trend. We'll see what ALQA does here. TNXP halted. Yeah, it's halted. Weird though. I mean, it got a volume spike here, but it's not like an exuberant amount of volume. Um, we'll see here. Big levels is previous high at 486 when it does resume. But just a big follow through, you know, with AMD. Really nice follow through. Amazon is making their own computers. Crazy. I wonder if Amazon up. Let's look at Microsoft now. Microsoft choppy. Apple down. AMD down. Yeah. I mean, Jonathan, it all depends on your strategy, man. You know, like I said, like when I back tested my strategies, like the VWAP fade and the bounce, AMD was like a really good option. You know, it just does it a lot. Like you can see, that was my trade from today on AMD. I think it was my trade on Monday with AMD. So this week I've just been trading AMD. It's been fading and bouncing really nicely. But it all depends on your strategy. Like certain stocks and sectors are going to act more reliable with your specific strategy. And so it all just depends on what kind of strategy you're implementing when trading. ALQA, sorry, Carissa. Or Carisha, hold on. No, so what I consider a fade, Carisha, is exactly what I did with AMD this morning, right? Like, I consider a fade when it's already in a bearish trend, like this. Like, I consider a fade when it's already in a bearish trend, pulls back to the VWAP. That's where I get in short, right when it gets to that VWAP level, setting a tight risk above, and my reward target is usually the previous low of the day. And so then you can see it fade off of the VWAP. Okay, and so like a rejection is when the stock is actually in a bullish trend. So the rejection is like if the stock was, let me see if I can find one today. Rejections tend to be a little bit less reliable, but the risk to reward is usually pretty good with them. Let me see if I can find one. If anybody knows what I mean by rejection, tell me if you see one today. I'm trying to find an example of one. I don't see many. But a rejection is basically like when a stock is above the VWAP. Okay, I could just use this as an example, but it's not a rejection. But like the stock is above the VWAP. Say the stock's above the VWAP going like this. Say the stock's above the VWAP, pushing up. And then it breaks underneath the VWAP, pulls back. That's where I get in short, and then fades back down. That's what I consider a rejection. Just because it breaks under the VWAP and then gets rejected back down. So like this upward trend is getting rejected by the VWAP. A fade is when it's already underneath the VWAP and it pulls back in a bearish trend to the VWAP, and then it holds that trend, if that makes sense. Kind of tough to explain. RIOT, PCG. All right, let me look. Yeah. This is a rejection. So like you can see over the VWAP, pulls back under it, pulls back to it, and then fades back down. That's a rejection. PCG. PCG might have a little bit better volume. Let me look at that one. PCG would kind of be a fade, honestly. And I'm kind of bummed I missed this one. But the reason it would be a fade is because bearish trend, pull back to the VWAP, fade back down. So that would be a fade. Rejection, like I said, is like when the stock is over the VWAP, pulls back down, pulls back up to it, and then gets rejected back down. Like that. I get into it like I did with AMD, right? Like a big thing is like I look for big downward move at the open. So this is when I'm starting to watch it. When it pulls back to the VWAP, that's where I jump in short, and then I ride it down to the low of the day, and then I try to let the rest work. Is usually what I try to do. Today wasn't a good example of it because, like I said, I tried to use 200 shares, got a little antsy in it, exited too soon, but green trade's green trade. But yeah, like here's the thing though. The fade is much more accurate. As you can see, like a lot of times the fade's going to be much more accurate than the rejection. But a lot of times the rejection will present you with better risk and reward. And so, you know, even if it's not as accurate, you can still be profitable with it if you approach it right, you know. Yeah, no stress, Netron. Hey, nice work, Salty. Isidro, let's look at, he says QD, not to get rejected. Yeah, so QD, I mean, so for instance, you can see bullish trend on QD. If it pulls back to the VWAP, or even if it just fails right here, that's a rejection. So you can see bullish trend, upward trend, break underneath the VWAP, pulled back a little bit, and then if it fades back down here, it's a rejection. What brokers do you recommend for a small account, and is cash versus margin? Cash versus margin, any better for getting filled? So I've used a ton of different brokers, Ivan. Currently, I'm using TradeNet and TEFs, and there's pros and cons to each. I've used SureTrader, I've used UStockTrade, I've used Webull, Robinhood, TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim, and so I've used a lot of different brokers. Here's the thing: they all have their pros and cons, right? UStockTrade, you can only trade long setups, and commissions are really cheap. They're $1. Platform's kind of not great. Fills aren't that great, but I mean, with cheap commissions, it's still okay, especially for a new trader. Quick deposits, quick withdrawals on UStockTrade. Overall, not bad. SureTrader's decent. Good fills for SureTrader. I really like the DOS platform for SureTrader. A lot of shorts. You can trade more stocks, I think, at least from what I remember. But it's really expensive. SureTrader, $150 or so, around that approximate $150 a month, just to use their platform in level 2. Commissions are more expensive there as well. It's like after routing and ECN fees, it's going to be like $15 or $16. It all depends on your sizing though, but at the minimum, it's going to be like $14 per trade on SureTrader, from what I remember, at least for when I used it. Expensive deposits, but like I said, some decent shorts, decent platform. TradeNet, TradeNet and TEFs, cheap commissions. It's like 0.0075 per share. So especially if you're using smaller sizing, it's cheap commissions. Biggest flaw for TEFs, I think, in TradeNet is that a lot of stocks aren't tradable, specifically cheap stocks under $5. But with my style of trading, it ends up working out. And anything that's tradable is shortable on there. Decent platform as well. And so, all the other ones I mentioned, like Robinhood, Webull, Thinkorswim, you're not going to be able to day trade actively because you have to follow the PDT rule. Yeah, no stress, Ivan. You're welcome, man. Yeah, I just try to be honest with people about it all. People hate on me for posting links to TradeNet, and like I said, it's just one of the ways I keep the stream free. But I enjoy using TradeNet. I don't really have that many problems with them thus far. I enjoy using them. I can short most things, but there's pros and cons to each. Like I didn't mind SureTrader; it's just expensive. Ustock as well. I didn't mind Ustock. The only reason I switched from Ustock is because I can't short on Ustock. Yeah, I think I have a Schwab account. Yeah, no PDT rule on UStockTrade. Yeah, there's no PDT rule. You can trade as much as you want, and commissions are cheap. They're like $1 per trade, no matter what your sizing is. Like I said, with Ustock though, there's no shorts, no margin. Um, Platform is kind of minimalist, and I would always just put Thinkorswim up, kind of like I do with Tefs here next to UStockTrade, and I made it work. I got some old videos of me trading on Ustock. Yeah, I have a Schwab account, but I think I have like $20 in it. It's when I first started trading. Originally, it was Options Express, is what they used to call it, and then it transitioned over to Schwab. Do I actually make money doing trading at CFDs? I mean, my graph is good, but I use small sizing to where commissions kind of hold me back some. And like I said, that's why I'm trying to up my sizing a little bit, because like you can see my graph. I need to update it and add some of the stocks from it, but I can pull up my graph. Let me find it. From November. I need to add some stocks here. It's my old graph though. Like my graph is decent for the first part of November. You know, it shows, let me get this straight so people could see it. It was a profitable graph so far, and I've actually had 2 profitable trades since then, so it actually is going to be up a little bit more from there. But you can see my sizing is tiny, and so commissions just play such a huge factor when I'm using that small of sizing to where it doesn't reflect well. But overall, not a bad graph for November. And like I said, this is going to be up a little bit as well since I've had 2 profitable trades since this. But yeah, I just need to scale up in sizing. Never used E-Trade, Ivan. Yes, it does, Alex, but not by much. Like for instance, anything anything around 300 to 400 shares is still going to be roughly anywhere from $3 to $5 per round trip, and so it's not going to go up by much, but the gains are going to go up more. And so like that's the only thing, you know, like for instance, like if I'm making an average gain of like $10 to $15 and I'm scaling into it, like a third of that is going towards commissions, you know, to where like if I'm using, instead of making a $10 to $15 gain, if I'm making a $50 to $60 gain, it's going to be much less than a third, and it's going to reflect more accurately on my gains. Right, that's what it is. Anything, it's 0.0075, I think, actually. But the point remains is that it's still going to be $4 to $5 per round trip. And so, like I said, if I'm making average gains of $10 to $15, you know, times 3, if I'm using 3 times the sizing, would be 45, and my commission would only be $1 or 2 more. And so, like I said, that's a huge difference. One of them is a third of any gains I make, and if it's $4 to $5, it's like less than 10%. I mean, yeah, Alex, like you can see my graph, man. I uploaded these straight from TAF, so I gotta add these new trades, and like I said, it should be up more than that, but I mean, that's my graph, man. You know, it's a green graph, but the gains are so small, you know, like average gains, what, $12? You know, and so yeah, I mean commissions are super, like, you know, like I said, commission after a round trip of $4, 450 after I scale in and out, like that's over a third of any gains I make. And so yeah, man, I mean it's just holding me back. That's why I said I really got to scale up. That's kind of been on my mind for a while now. It's just time. You know, my graph's nice, it's decent, you know, it's actually up some from here, I would think, since those 2 gains, but I got to make it work, man. I gotta raise the sizing. We'll see what happens with QD. It's kind of consolidating there. ALQA, what did that one end up doing? Did it bounce off the VWAP some? I mean, here's the thing, Alex. Like, if you look at my last account, right, my first account, I had that account since May, and I lost like $200 since May on that account, right? If I was like a big losing trader, I wouldn't have been able to keep that account long because even though commissions are taking such a big factor, I kept that account since May using trading every single day with small sizing, and so commissions are really the big thing that's holding me back. Of course, I have some stuff in my game that I need to fix, but overall, my graph is up if you look at it without commissions in the last 6 months. And so that's just the big thing that I need to target. I need to get up to that big sizing. I need to just take the leap. And it's tough, man. I've been using small sizing for a long time. And that's good. I had that experience in the market, but it's time to, now that I'm showing positive graphs and consistency, I need to move up desperately because, I have more green trades than red, but my graph doesn't reflect it or my account balance doesn't reflect it because the sizing's too small. But I'm not upset that I used small sizing for so long. I think it was necessary to get that consistency and confidence, but it's time for sure. Yeah, Carissa, I mean, it just makes sense. With new traders, and it just makes sense to like take it slow, use small sizing, even if you're going to draw down your account some. But the goal is to preserve your account long enough to where you get experience in the market. If you jump right in using big sizing, of course you have that chance that you might just kind of run up your account. But for most new traders, they're just going to destroy their account, not spend any time in the market, and then they're going to give up and say trading's rigged or whatever they want to say. Yeah, it makes sense. Honestly, Carisha, that's what Mitch always says: is that even if you just trade one share and you're showing profit, trading one share every day, it works. It's at beginner trades, Jimbo. He's at work, Jason. Here's a good rejection for people that wanted to see a rejection. Here's one on NBEV. Beautiful example of it. So look, so bullish trend, perfect example of it. So bullish trend above the VWAP, break underneath the VWAP, pull back to it, gets rejected back down. Good example right there. On NBEV, if I was trying to trade the VWAP rejection, but like I said, it's not the accuracy is not super high. I don't do rejections often, but it would be right around the VWAP here at 370. Looking for it to get rejected back down. Yeah, you're ultimately looking for it to like hold. You're looking for it to break underneath the VWAP and then maintain that downward trend. And so you're looking for it to get rejected off of this VWAP here. Pun, that's a really subjective question. It all depends, man. You know, it all depends on what broker, what strategy, what share size, how experienced you are. Like, it all just depends, man. You know, it all depends on how much money you have free. You don't want to trade with money you need, you know. Like, you don't want to, I wouldn't recommend, like, taking a loan out for trading. I don't recommend that. You want to be able to trade with money you're okay with losing, especially when you first get started, because you'll probably lose. Not just you, every new trader most likely loses money when they first get started. Pun, I would suggest getting a paper account, working on finding your niche in trading, finding your strategy. Just kind of get your feet wet with it a little bit. If you want to use real money at first, Robinhood, you know, is a good option. Yeah, exactly, Carisha. You want enough to learn with, something that you can lose and that you're okay with losing, and it's not going to bankrupt you if you lose. You know, you don't want to trade with money you need, because that's too much pressure, and the whole goal of trading is to eliminate pressure. For sure. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it down today. Shout out to Trade Ideas for being cool enough to let me stream their scans. I'll post their link as well. Let me see. So yeah, shout out to Trade Ideas. If you're wondering what scanners I'm using on the left side of the screen, this is Trade Ideas scanners here. And shout out to them. Really cool company. Really makes my mornings much easier. And so, you know, go check out Trade Ideas if you want. There's the link. Also, if you're interested in signing up to TradeNet, I know their Black Friday sale is done, but you can still get 10% off through TradeNet if you go through my link here. And it's one of the ways we keep the stream free. And so if you're interested in using the same broker that I'm using, you can get 10% off any package by going through my link. And I just posted the link in the chat there. Like I said, it's 10% off, so you can go check that out as well. And yeah, that's it for the day, guys. NBEV still, you know, nice little follow through on that rejection here. But yeah, that's it for the day, guys. Not a bad day. Another green day. I haven't had a losing trade this week, and so this week's going well. We'll see how it goes tomorrow, though. So good luck for the rest of the day, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning, same time as always. Shout out to all the new people here as well. Appreciate y'all joining us. And yeah, we do this every weekday morning. We go live every weekday morning. Also, guys, if you want to help support the channel, click the like button right now in this video. If you appreciate the content, appreciate the stream, click the like button. Definitely helps support us. I appreciate any support I can get. And if it's your first time joining us and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button as well. I appreciate it if you do. And appreciate the sub, Eloy. But yeah, guys, good luck for the rest of the day. I'll see you all tomorrow. And have a good day.